Welcome back to Ahead of the Game. Tux, Sport Takes, Sports Pez, Jez. Is that a better intro this time, Jez?
No, they're all good. I don't know what you're talking about. I love them. I was expecting it to explode a little bit longer, but then you just like cut it short.
Brought it
But
back
I
down.
think I
Yeah.
like it.
Don't
I
have to
feel
say more
comfortable.
than
Anything short, I feel comfortable about.
a bit of an NHL themed episode today with Ovechkin breaking the record for the most goals by an NHL player ever, taking over Wayne Gretzky. I don't have any Capitals or Ovechkin gear, but Datsuk, he's Russian.
Oh, yeah. I have. I think
Can't see
I
it.
have a Ovechkin shirt from when we were in the USA.
Ah,
I
okay.
have a red Capital shirt with the number 8 on it. I think. Where's that? Must be in that suitcase of all the things you're going to take
All
out when
the
you have a
gear.
man cave. All the gear. It's the man cave reserve in the cellar of when you get rich
Yeah.
enough to have a hectic man cave. You've just got all the stuff, got all the merch already. Just needs to
That's
go
it.
in a frame.
Fill the
Now that's worth
walls.
something. Yeah. Yeah. Just think we've seen Ovechkin play live. You and I.
Yep.
Mm?
Did he score that game? Can't
No,
remember.
Crosby scored. It was Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
It was Pittsburgh. It was when Pittsburgh and Capitals were having the rivalry, and it was Ovechkin, Crosby, and Crosby scored on the power play off one knee. Remember?
Man, your
I
memory.
remember. No, just that. Only sport. Can't remember what I did yesterday, but remember sports moments.
All right. Well, hopefully we can remember a bit from the weekend. In shit that's happened, we're going to talk about the Ovechkin goal, talk a little bit about the F1 in Suzuka, and also some NBL free agency news. Jez, let's get into it. We start off with Ovechkin's goal. He had a back-to-back on the weekend. We spoke about this just about a month ago. Looking ahead, or actually, we've been speaking about it all season long, whether he's going to get it, whether he'll have to play another year because he got injured. He broke his leg, right? Start of the season.
Yeah.
And we're like, nah, he's not going to make it. Too few games. And then he just started smashing them in, and his diet and his rehabilitation.
Yeah, that crazy video that come out where everyone's like, how do you do it? How have you had so much longevity in your career and still perform? And he's just like bullshitting, saying, it's about my diet and it's about good recovery. This is my Russian Ovechkin voice, by the way. and other things that I'm not going to tell you. Alex, what are you up to, buddy? Just gonna throw
Definitely
that,
not performance rehabilitation enhancing substances.
No, nothing about the Sochi Olympics going on there. There's no test getting smuggled through little ventilation. No, it was the electricity holes from the testing room where they were smuggling out pee samples in and out. Let's not go there. Let's not talk about
it. But we said that he was going to, what did I guess, 18 games that he was going to take from that show we had a month ago. You took 16. He did it in 17.
Yeah, of course he did. Split the middle. That's insane, man. That's crazy.
You reckon he watched the episode and thought, I'll get these guys?
Of course. Yeah, of course. It had nothing to do with the timing of breaking it in exactly the same. He broke the record in exactly the same amount of games that Gretzky did. No, he did it one game before. Yeah. He set the record in the same amount of games and tied it one game prior.
Earlier. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
And just think how many goals and how many games, and that it ends up right at that number. Like it's a story. It's made to be.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I saw that. I think I sent it to you on the Friday before when they played Chicago and he scored the double. I'm like, he can do it in exactly the same games. I'm like, how did we even miss that information leading up to it the whole way through, and then it just all come out when it was that close? And you think, like, how? Like you said, broke his leg. He could have done it way before, but I think broke his leg and recovered in, I don't know, it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think it was like 26 days or something from a broken leg, and then back on the ice and scored straight at the first game straight away.
I'm still recovering from broken legs 6 years later.
Yeah. us amateurs. It takes you out of the game for the rest of your life when you break a bone. You can't even play beer league sport ever again.
No.
No, but legend, well deserved, like great character of the game, and I think it's awesome that I love when these like impossible records get broken. It's like it was an impossible record. What did you count now? It was like 30 years before.
Yeah, so Gretzky,
from
he broke Gordie Howe's record in '94. And then he went on to keep playing another 5 years. So those 5 years was him just increasing the record and by a pretty solid margin. And then you just think of Gretzky's longevity in the game. You think, okay, nobody, with the way the game's played today and the business around it, you don't want to hold on to an old dude who who can, in 3 years' time maybe set a record. But, Ovechkin not only kept himself in the game, he kept himself in a spot where he can continue to score goals. And you say now, we're never going to see it again, but they probably were saying the same thing about Gretzky in '99 when he retired.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I'm pretty sure I was just trying to quickly find now that there's something about Ovechkin and also breaking the all-time like body checks hits record as well in his career. So it's not like what you were saying, you're trying to look after your body and it's like you're never going to be able to make it. And he's the most physical player that the game has ever seen, and also the leading goal scorer. Like I'm pretty sure there is something like Ovechkin has over 3,331 body checks.
Wow.
But that was in 2022. But there was like something that come up over this period of the last few weeks where he's has made the most body checks of anybody ever in the NHL, something like that. Like, so
he has always been an enforcer, always been tough.
Yeah, he's massive. He's massive. Like that's what makes him so good. He's so big and still so skillful. The most like memorable goal is that one where he's like lying on his back. Have you seen it? Where he gets like taken down coming through and somehow the puck ends up on his stick and he's like on his back and still like roofed it past the goalie while he was lying down. It was like one of his first like, I don't know, 5 years or something of playing. It's incredible. Must be so many goals. You just think of that on top of the circle slap shot that he scores on the power play all the time, but he was also extremely skillful. So
it'll be in that video on the NHL website that I was just started to watch every single goal 1 to 895 in one video, but it's only 18 minutes. So if you want to check it out, it's on the NHL website. But Jez, the F1 into a 3-week cycle in the middle in Suzuka in Japan, a lot of expectation into the weekend, a lot of talk around the Red Bulls and their driver change up, the drivers loving the track at Suzuka. There was a lot of hype, but ultimately the race fell flat. I know you didn't watch the whole race, but what I wanted to talk about here with you is the way the sport is kind of, I wouldn't say migrating, but we're at a stage now where these cars are so big and they're racing on tracks that were made for cars, 2/3 the size. There's nothing happening. No overtaking. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it is that whole excitement factor. It's lucky that the championship is bringing excitement to this year because of Norris and Verstappen and all of that, because otherwise like some of these races, and there's so many of them, like what did we say, the season was like 23 races long or something like crazy like that. And it's just you could like lose fans. You think, okay, more races, more money, but you can lose contacts during periods of the season, I think, because especially through these stretches where they're it's like Japan, Bahrain, Saudi, not really known so much for overtaking and skillful racing. And I don't know. They do need to go back. I don't know. I always want the cars to go back to the petrol and loud engines and smaller cars and more fear of death. Like that's why you got into motor racing in the first place. But it just sort of feels like they're obviously shifting away from that. And I don't know. It can be a bit bit
Because
dull.
it's been about speed, and I think for an observer who's not at the track, you can't see the speed anyway.
Mhm.
So why not pull back the developments around speed and work
Yeah,
on maneuverability and
yeah,
allow like set the regulations so that encourages overtaking,
mm,
not from a speed perspective, but from a skill and a track positioning perspective.
yeah,
Because now there's too many kind of mid speed corners, and there's not enough
mm,
braking and
mm,
opportunities for teams
mm,
to strategize around overtaking on these tracks. You just look at like
yeah,
all the straight tracks, Singapore, Monaco, even the older tracks, Spa, Imola,
yeah,
even Australia.
yeah,
If the weather's good in Australia, there's not a great deal of
no,
overtaking possibility there. So I think I had so much anticipation throughout the whole race because of the championship, like you said,
mm,
and the opportunity about thinking that something could happen at Suzuka because of the history there and the crashes and the tight battles. But in the end, it all just fell flat because nothing happened. There was no strategy
yeah,
because nothing happened. There was no crashes. There was a couple of
wow.
overtaking in the back of the field, but nothing in the front. It was one, two, three from the start to the finish.
Mm, yeah, yeah, like, you can only sort of hold on as a fan, especially watching it, like, and watching it at weird times, like, you're either, in Europe or whatever, and you get up and it changes your whole day, it changes your whole Sunday, and you put that
Mm,
time to it, and then it's a boring race. There's only sort of a certain amount of races you can do that, and you're just like, "Oh, it's not worth it. I'll just check the result because nothing's gonna happen
yeah,
anyway." So,
exactly.
like, but yeah, and I think you bring up a really good point about speed, because it's like, it being gone to have been and watched Formula One just last year, and you think, okay, yeah, they're driving 330, 360 kilometers an hour, and the downforce is so good, and that's why nobody can pass, because you don't lose traction in corners. They're
Mm,
right on top of the technology in tire wear. Stuff doesn't happen. Like, when I say, you want to see more death, like, you don't want to see more death, but you want to see more excitement. You want to see cars get out of order coming into corners and under braking, and that sort of stuff just doesn't happen anymore because the technology and development's so good. And like, I think it's that, like, for us as a fan, if you're watching it on TV or even there, I don't think it makes any difference if they're going 350 or 290. It's
no,
fast. It's fast.
yeah,
It's fast anyway. Like,
yeah,
so, but it is hard, because you obviously, Formula One is all about development, and it's all about trying to, like you've said, get the fastest car. But in some way, you want them to make more mistakes. Like, I think the same thing was happening in the V8s as well. They were getting so well developed that just nothing nothing was happening. Like,
mm,
and when you watch the V8s, it was like, you wanted to see them touching, you wanted to see cars get really out of shape coming in and out of corners. And then just the development gets too good, and then you got to think of other crazy ways to make the sport
mm,
interesting. Same with motorbikes. So much technology. It doesn't the it takes the humanity and the ability for a human to make a mistake out of motor racing. It's
yeah,
like, make it AI. Put a robot on there, because it's exactly the same. It's just all about the machine now, and it's not about
mm.
the driver or the rider, because they can't make mistakes almost.
Well, it still hasn't stopped Ferrari from making mistakes in their strategy anyway, so
Yeah,
that'll
yeah,
continue
but
no matter what.
strategy. Maybe they should just type in Chat GPT when should we pit? Should we take him in? Should we
Yeah.
not? Maybe they'll do a better job, because yeah, they find a way to yeah, make it more human.
No, we'll see if the rule changes for the 2026 season, that quite a big difference in the cars there, if that makes any difference. But for the
Mm,
rest of this season, at least, we'll be stuck with uh, the same strategies and the same cars and the same probably
mm,
boring races. But let's see.
mm.
Jez, NBL free agency is raring and going, and we've got the first biggest name to be signed. And Matthew Dellavedova, there was a lot of
Mm.
talk about him maybe going to Brisbane throughout the last kind of portion of the season,
Yeah.
and then he was in Perth. Rumors on the basketball fix that he was going to be signed in Perth, and
Mm,
then news broke over the weekend he's going to Sydney. What's your
mm.
thoughts?
Yeah, I was really shocked. Like, I don't know, I just don't see like I don't see Delhi fitting into the culture that's there in Sydney right now. But I think through this last season where we've been heavily invested in the NBL with the basketball fix and being absolutely drenched in NBL, all we were saying was there needs to be some sort of culture change at Sydney for them to be better and be a contender again. So I think when we talked about this, the other day, like I was like, yeah, it doesn't fit, but you're like, yeah, well, it's exactly what Sydney needs. So,
Mm.
and that, like, yeah, that makes sense because first I was just like crazy, and it was just sort of like a quiet rumor that Delhi was talking to Sydney, and then all of a sudden, I don't
He's
know,
there.
money talks.
Mm.
Money talks when you're 40, doesn't it? Like,
But I mean,
I guess,
the guy won Finals MVP on a losing team, so
yeah,
there's not. I mean, he's not going to go there and not contribute on the court.
no,
He's still a
no,
fantastic player, and I think maybe something that Sydney lacked a little bit last season was their aggression and their, to steal a football term, their one percenters.
mm,
They they were a little bit too good for themselves. They thought they
yeah,
were great. They thought they were the championship contender or the odds on favorite, and that
mm,
shone through in their games. They couldn't beat the good teams because they thought they were better than them, and then the teams
mm,
come out and said, "Well, you're
mm,
not better." And Delhi doesn't have that mindset. He's the underdog guy that goes in and he knows, his mindset is we're not better. We need to be better.
mm,
So I think it could definitely change that the direction of that organization depending on how the rest of that roster is made up. But I
mm,
can also kind of think that big loss for Perth, big loss for Brisbane not having that signature, because now those two organisations are still going to continue to look for guys that can be that stability on both ends of the court, with Perth losing Bryce Cotton and Brisbane still, going through another transition of a new coach and all the hoo-ha that's been going on there with appointing their GM to head coach now. So
mm.
it's it has so much reverberations around the league, the signing.
Yeah, like just sort of on the basketball fix at the moment, looking at the free agency tracker, and it's really interesting Sydney's lineup. Like, got to also in this whole transaction of Delhi, is the one thing he hasn't won is an NBL championship. So
Mm,
that can also be something that, like, you obviously thought he's still going to have a good chance with Melbourne if he stayed in Melbourne, because they just seem they're always there. But maybe a change of scenery, they can build the team. Like, they've got a lot of leeway. Like, if you think that in theory, say they've got like say two of the top 3 or 4 best Australian players, you've still got Xavier Cooks there on contract, um, and then you've got Matthew Dellavedova, and they're your Aussies. So you've
mm,
just got this space now to try and find those imports, which they've struggled with over the last couple of seasons. But I think when you have a cool head like Delhi, I think that helps with this. Yeah, with finding an import that fits, and then him working with them, obviously to keep everybody under wraps and keep them working as a unit, which was the biggest problem with Sydney last year. So
mm,
you find some imports, I think that maybe have some experience in the NBL and that have proven that they can play in the NBL style of basketball. And they've got a decent roster. Like, they've still got Quat Noy, Xavier Cooks, Delhi, Sean Bruce, Kelly Lupepe. Like, they've got a good mix there if they can just
mm,
find these right imports that are gonna, another guard, and then another, a 4 or 5, wherever you want to sort of need a 5, so Cooks can play solid 4. So
mm.
yeah, they got all the right pieces there again. So just see if they can get it all together, and old Gorge can work some magic in the, I don't know, last few years of his career, I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's tough to see him getting another contract extension there. But once the title odds come out for NBL 26, we'll get them up on bets.com.au. It's one of the subjects or the sports that we write about over there.
Yep.
And yeah, keep an eye on those. It'll be interesting to see
Mm.
if Sydney come out on top or Illawarra uh, odds on to go back to back. Let's have a bit of a
Yep.
quick break, come back and hit GPT KO. Rightio. Our best segment, our most favorite. That's not good English.
We're not good at English. We do sports. We sports. We sports good.
We sport. We sport. We no talk. It's been fantastic. I love this segment. GPT KO. We put together a bracket. I'm going to bring it up on the screen. And now I'm just got to get our sound working. There we go. Last week we had Ron Artest and Isaiah Stewart from the NBA, kind of an old versus new theme about that one, considering the malice in the palace, as I kind of 2.5 with the Pistons getting ugly in the fighting world. But this is a great thing. We've got the first one was Peter V'landys, Andrew Dillon, two big wigs of the footy codes. Then we had Verstappen and Russell, with Verstappen taking the cake there with that little duel. I had a Verstappen versus Norris little incident on the weekend. It was interesting. I think Verstappen would still win that one. Then we had Cherry Evans and Anthony Seabold. Yeah. Piastri's going to own him soon. Cherry Evans and Seabold
held him up
with
this
the
week
contract.
anyway. Let's not get into that.
Yeah. The contract talk around Cherry Evans there, with the animosity that was rumoured to be between those two. Cherry Evans won out. So now the question is, what is the next matchup? And as we said, it is a NHL theme, and we can go with Ovechkin and Gretzky. Another old versus new. So we keep that bottom corner of the bracket with the old versus new, and see how this plays out. Rightio. Our next matchup is one for the ages, and we are riding the wave of momentum in the NHL world with the Alex Ovechkin versus Wayne Gretzky battle for most goals in NHL history. Ovechkin tied Gretzky's record with a game in hand over the weekend in the first of a back-to-back, then went on to break the record in the same amount of games it took Gretzky to set his total number of goals. I probably should write something.
It was good writing. That wasn't.
Let's get into this matchup just to make sure he understands what's going on.
Don't worry. ChatGPT understands you better than you understand you now. The amount of time you spend on it. Oh, no. Oh, that's getting a bit creepy.
Well, Alex Ovechkin, I'm just going to wash over that. Versus Wayne Gretzky, the great one versus the great gun. Record books become wreckage. This one doesn't just slap, it body checks the fabric of history. The NHL's all-time goals king, Wayne Gretzky, versus the one man who had the audacity and the accuracy to dethrone him, Alexander Ovechkin. The records may say one thing, but we're not talking finesse now. We're talking fists, grit, and pure ice-cold fury. Tale of the tape. Wayne Gretzky, 183 centimeters, 84 kilograms, nicknamed the Great One for a reason. Vision, control, and an unmatched ability to play chess while everyone else was playing pond hockey. Not known for his physicality, but don't mistake that for weakness. He was slippery as hell and smarter than anyone on the ice. Alex Ovechkin, 191 centimeters and 108 kilos. Much bigger than the Great One.
Big
The
beast.
Russian machine, built like a tank. Hits like a freight train and fires one-timers like he's trying to break the law of physics.
Whoa.
Pure power and passion. His highlight reel is basically one long mixtape of destruction.
Man, spot on. This is so good. This is so good.
The fight breakdown. Power, tactics, and durability. Ovi's a one-man wrecking crew. He's delivered bone-rattling hits and thrives in the dirty zones. Gretzky, on the other hand, avoided contact like it was a flu outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
Gretzky's hockey IQ is legendary. If there were loopholes in the octagon rules, he'd find them. He'd be dodging, ducking, and dancing.
Dodge, ditch, dodge, dive. What is that from?
Dodgeball.
Dodgeball.
Durability. Ovechkin's Iron Man streak is absurd. Gretzky had longevity, but Ovi's been punishing bodies while staying healthy. The dude's built for war.
Like, I feel like I know where this is going, but I also feel like this is the closest battle we've had, where ChatGPT could just throw something crazy here and say that Gretzky wins, even though you think Ovechkin's got the power.
I don't want to scroll down. It's too exciting.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Cliffhanger to next week's episode. Like the old days, home and away on a Friday afternoon, Friday night. Have to wait to Monday to know if Alf's heart attack was real.
We should do that. We should change this segment to Fridays, and then that's the hook to get people to come back on Monday. Smart.
Yeah.
Home and away. Knew it years ago.
I won't be able to hold myself. It's brains versus brawn. At first, Gretzky uses footwork and head games to stay out of danger. Classic rope-a-dope stuff. But the Russian bear doesn't play patient. He cuts off the angles, closes the gap, and drops a hit so heavy it echoes through NHL history. Alex Ovechkin via third-round knockout. The great one goes down to the greatest gun. Respect stays intact, but the record and now the face-to-face fight belongs to Ovi.
Wow, what a battle. And a KO. Wow, that was intense, man.
Yeah, I just need a bit of 3 seconds to catch myself there.
Yeah. I love your voice, and I love the way that you read that. Don't get me wrong, but maybe we need to find a way where we can get one of these epic voiceovers that can read it. But so I'm not dissing the way that you've read it, because I'm also bubbling inside. So you've delivered it well.
Yeah, but maybe I also want to feel it listening to a let's get ready to rumble kind of guy.
You know, something like that. Or Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman can be a voiceover for anything. We can find something here. We can get ChatGPT onto it.
Yeah.
We'll ask her later.
I love that you call it a her and I call it a him. Is that? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm trying to help you out. You're the one married to her.
Well, I'm married to my personal ChatGPT, but this is the work one.
Oh,
the work one's a man.
It's your work wife. She's just your little side hustle.
Yeah.
She's your
my real wife doesn't listen to this, but
what?
Can take away my
real ChatGPT wife. Yeah, exactly. Everything's crashed. She'll crash your work. She'll come in, trash everything.
All right, we're done.
All right.
Find and follow Tuck Sport Takes, Sports Pez Jez. Head over to bets.com.au. Check out the upcoming round 6. We're pretty much a quarter of the way through the NRL season already after this weekend.
Goes quick.
Mental. Up to you, buddy.
All right. Just hang with us, everybody, and stay ahead of the game. Goodbye.